Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Evolution with Mac and Jen podcast. It is Jen here. And if you are watching the video, as you can see, there is no Mac here with me today. It's just me. And as much as I love having him here with me, I also do get very excited to come on here and do some recording just on my own because sometimes I feel like I have things on my heart to share and this is my opportunity to do so. And so today is just me, and I'm very, very excited because I do have some stuff in my heart that I want to share with you all and just kind of see where this goes. Um, so I guess the beginning of this conversation, it might be a little bit of a trigger warning because I am going to share about a really tragic event that happened um, within my family. But then I want to talk a little bit about it and relate it to what we do. So let's just go on this journey, I guess, together and see where it takes us and see what comes out of my mouth. So, let me think about where to start here. So, November is a hard time of year ever since 2022 for my family because and like I said, this is a trigger warning, but in November 2022, my cousin, she was murdered by her husband, and he also killed their three kids. This event, made national news. It was awful, like awful. It was also, shocking and unexpected, of course. And it kind of just like it kind of made me feel very numb in the beginning, like this is not real type emotions. But it absolutely was real. And I mean, it was awful. It literally devastated our family. My cousin, she was really the glue, I think, that held everybody together because she was amazing. She played soccer and I also played soccer. And she was older than me, so I always really looked up to her and kind of wanted like to have her confidence and her just this like energy about her when she walked into a room like she had a big energy, big personality and people turned their heads. She was amazing. And she was a very successful lawyer in Phoenix, and she made a lot of money, had a very nice home. She was married, and they had three kids, which for them it wasn't easy for those kids, I don't think, because she was a bit older, and I know that they did some like fertility type stuff to get those kids. And so, but she always wanted to be a mother. And so when she was, got pregnant with her first son, it was like a really exciting time. And then she got pregnant again with twins. And so that was a really exciting time. And so again, November though is just, the month that everything went down. And so this is why this month is harder for my family because it just brings up a lot of those emotions of like losing her and in the way that it happened, the thought of like how unfairly it happened. Like because again, she was amazing and it was not, it didn't have to go down that way, but it did. And that's just the reality of it. And so we're all just doing our best to remember her, love the kids and just like move forward, and it's hard because I think the hardest part for me is just watching like other people in my family hurting from it, my aunt, my uncle, my mother, and stuff like that. I don't want to cry, but because um she was they were all, my cousin and my mom especially, they were very close. And so it's just hard seeing um seeing them hurting because of what happened. And I am also hurting too, but I have been on my own journey of forgiveness before this even happened, learning how to forgive people that have hurt me personally. And so when this happened, I went straight to like numbness. This is awful. How like this isn't happening to like not how can I forgive him, but how can I not hold on to so much anger and like rage for what has happened. Because I know that when you hold on to it, it hurts you more than anything. And so I quickly started to, do my own healing work around this. And it doesn't mean it's still not hard and I'm still not angry, but it's just been a journey. And so even going as far as like me having to even really lean closer into God, um, and and seeing how like, you know, how is this part of his plan? And I feel like I don't know, I feel like the kids were young. One was Christopher was 3 and the twins were 6 months old. And I remember like one night, talking to God. And God, he told me that even if he said the girls, the twins, they they knew he said to me, and this might sound crazy, but he said to me that they knew their life was going to be cut short and they still decided to come. And so that actually gave me a lot of peace um in that because I do believe that even though they were here for such a short time, they felt so much love. And I feel like it's always not about how long we're here, it's about how we live it. And they only had 6 months to live it, but in those 6 months, like I know they were loved. And so that's very cool. But how I want to kind of turn this conversation is to really to relate like relationships and like how this could have happened because I know that people typically don't just go around killing other people. Like we don't just do that, right? And so how could this have tragic event happened? And I guess this is part of like the way that I've been able to kind of not for totally forgive. I mean, I can actually say that I have forgiven him in a sense, not because I condone what he did, but because I can understand why he did it. And let me explain. I understand because I know that when you're backed into a corner and you and life becomes incredibly uncertain, human behavior will do anything to grab for any type of certainty they can get. And I know that her husband, as far as I know, he grew up in foster care. He wasn't very, always loved, probably in the way that he had wanted to be. And he had a hard life up until him and my cousin getting together. And so when they married, got the house, had the kids, it gave him a lot of certainty where he, in his whole life, never really had that. And so a few years ago. My cousin and I, like I have a lot of cousins. But her and I, like we've always been close, but we don't talk, we didn't talk all the time. Like she came to Colorado for a business trip and like we met and had lunch. Um, I'd see her like maybe when I'd go home to visit, not every time, but sometimes. So I'd see her like a couple times a year. Um, and it was always great, right? But there was a couple years ago, maybe probably 2020 or the beginning of 2021, where I went home and she actually at this time lived down the street from my father. And so and at that time I had already started doing this work that I do now where I'm really like trying to understand this relationship thing and the differences between men and women and polarity in a relationship because in 20 I got divorced in the beginning of 2020 and I said to myself, I do not want to make the same mistakes I did in my first marriage, in my next relationship. But not only that, I want to create a relationship where that people are jealous of, that people want to have. One that's not normal, one that's full of like passion and love and respect. And two people who are truly like embodying their best selves, but growing together. Like that's what I wanted. And so it was kind of like, okay, how does this work? Like, how do I do that? Right? And so I started finding examples of this and then learning from them. And I was sharing about everything very openly on social media and dating and just all the things I was doing, sharing. And so my cousin knew that. And so I was in Phoenix and she reached out to me and was like, you want to come over? And so like I walked down the street and walked over to her house and her and I sat in her backyard together. And while we were sitting there, she was talking to me about their relationship problems and how I don't really remember the details, but I just remember she was feeling alone inside her relationship. She was feeling like she wanted him to step up. She was feeling like he was more withdrawn. Like I could I can tell the words I can put to it now looking back was what she truly wanted to feel cherished by her husband and loved by him, and she didn't. And because of that, she was clearly upset. And I think at the time she was contemplating like getting divorced. And I can relate to that because I too um, got divorced. I mean, I spent time contemplating divorce before myself, and so I know how that feels. And so, she told me all this stuff, and I was trying to tell her about some of the stuff I had been learning and 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 things like that, things that I've been learning about, you know, how we show up determines how they show up and and helping her to see him through more of a different lens, right? But here's the thing, her and I couldn't fix her relationship in one conversation at her patio table in her backyard. And I don't think she was looking for me to fix it, but she definitely shared with me the problems and I shared with her what I was experiencing at the time. And so we connected in that way. And so I knew they were having problems and things like that. And so my cousin, um, her being a successful lawyer, a very independent woman, a very strong-willed woman, um, all these things. She wanted so badly to be cherished and loved, but the way that she went about trying to receive that from him did more harm for both of them than it did good. Because when you are trying to get the love that you desperately crave from your partner through anger and force, through criticism, we do that a lot, us women. We criticize them, thinking that it'll help them be better, which is a way to control them. They don't like that. When we try to use masculine ways of control to control our men and get what we want from them, it makes them angry and it pushes them farther away than bringing them to us, which is ultimately what we really want. And this typically in relationships, I know it can go on for this dynamic can go on for years where our men start withdrawing and us women either, we withdraw too. We withhold sex, which is another way to control the situation. We, get angry, resentful, sometimes say hurtful things, criticize them, jab at their manhood, right? We do these things because we're angry that they have not loved us the way that we want them to. And that can be very, very like detrimental to relate the relationship rather than, what I teach women now is to truly express how you feel in a more healthy way, in a way that men can actually hear it so they feel more inspired to step up for you and be there for you and cherish you the way you truly want. Because trying to make a man show up for you through harsh words and kind of an anger and tearing him apart is not what is going to inspire him to do so. You are going to inspire him to back up against the wall and get angry. When you show up in masculine energy to a man, it's in a man's natural instinct to battle that energy. And as amazing as my cousin, is and was, and she was also very much so in her masculine energy. And masculine men, when there's a masculine energy in front of them, their instinct is to battle it, not to cherish it. And when we women show up in that energy day after day after day after day, criticizing and not appreciating their gestures and not, showing them any type of respect, it wears on them too. Like we're not the only ones hurting. They're hurting very badly too. And so I'm guessing that this went on for them for years. Just like it went on in my relationship with my ex-husband for years too. Luckily for me, it didn't end in such a tragic way, but I already started shifting before we were divorced and really doing this work. And so, which is also why now my ex-husband and I actually have a pretty good relationship. And I can show him more respect today than I ever did when we were married. Um, Not because he changed, but because I changed. I changed the way that I see him. I changed the way that I approach him. I changed the way I speak to him. And it's actually really great because I'm rather than trying to control him through my anger, I inspire him through my love. It's a totally different energy flip, but it's awesome. And we can do this if we just decide to, do it, right? To learn this stuff. So, years, I'm sure this went on where she constantly belittled him, criticized him, made him feel less than. Um, I don't think totally intentionally, but it happened and it happens like we all do it. Not always not intentionally, and I've talked about this in a podcast before. Sometimes it's as little as not trusting them to even like load the dishwasher correctly in our version of correctly, right? Like these little ticks of disrespect and these little ticks of like, I don't trust you, it wears down on them. Okay. So fast forward now to November 2022. My cousin and I, we had that one conversation on her back patio, and then I hadn't really talked to her again. Like we both kind of just went on with life. I, of course, prayed for them and hope that they figure their shit out because like we all want our loved ones to figure their shit out and be happy and feel that love they so desperately want on both sides. Like not only did she so desperately want love, but I know he so desperately wanted love too. And his whole life he felt like he never had it. And so when she finally came into his life, all of a sudden he got some of that love, some of that certainty. And even though it was a low level love, it was still love and better than anything he's ever had. And so of course he held on to that tight, right? But he didn't know how. He didn't know how to love her, right? He didn't know how to love her the way that she so desperately wanted either. Because as she tried to receive it, but through control, he ran and he hid like a little boy. Why did he do that? Because he was a little boy. Like he never fully became like that man, that like Mufasa energy. Like he didn't grow up. He was a little boy in a man's body. Um, which is why he, reacted like a little boy, right? And so, and he never knew. He didn't have the skills to love her. Like is a skill. How to love a woman takes you have like you don't like you can love her and say and like consciously say I love my wife, but are you loving her? Like are you holding space for her? Are you not judging her? Not just holding space for her safety, like physically, but emotionally? Like, are you doing those things? And he was not for her. But as a man, like our men so desperately need respect. And I'm not saying women don't need respect, but men need respect too. Men instinctually need respect. Women need love. In the Bible, it says this. Like everything that we teach is backed by the Bible. And it was backed by the Bible before I knew what I was teaching was backed by the Bible. And so that's like confirmation that this shit works. How do you love your wife, but how do you respect your man? Like you can consciously say, I respect him, but how are you showing it to him? Are you constantly criticizing him and trying to control him? Because that's not how you show a man respect. How do you show a man respect? Well, um, if there's a lot of pain there, the first thing you need to do is start switching your lens to out of judgment and into love and compassion for him, knowing that like he's a human doing the best he can with what he knows. Switching your lens so you can show up differently and start learn to start following in his leadership. A man needs to feel respected. Like and he needs to feel like the leader. And so when you have a woman in her masculine energy showing up all the time trying to be the man in the relationship, um it kills our men. So I imagine that my cousin's husband felt very numb inside himself, dead inside himself. Like he had everything he wanted, but he was not fulfilled how he could have been had they both shown up a little bit differently. So fast forward to 2022, November 2022. My cousin went out of town. Another tragic thing, but my cousin went out of town because her sister, my other cousin, had passed away. And so she went to her funeral. She went to her sister's funeral. And I know that she wanted her husband to go with her, but for some reason he didn't. And, if my facts if are not like 100% correct, like this is just what I've heard. So she wanted him to go and he for some reason did not. So she went to the weekend, buried her sister, came back to Phoenix, and I'm guessing the night that she came back, she was very angry and she had every right to be. Like I would have been pissed too if my husband didn't go with me to my sister's funeral. Like I would have been pissed. Um, Very angry. I'm guessing that there was fight and conversation about divorce in that moment. And what happens is after years of being beat down, and I'm not saying she was wrong either because we're all doing the best we can with what we know, right? But when we know better, we get to do better. But after years of being beat down, and then all of a sudden he feels like everything in his life is being ripped away, which it's been being ripped away for years, but I think it got really real in that moment because I'm guessing he realized I fucked up. Like I should have been there for her, right? I don't know. I've heard what happened next. I don't know what happened next, and I'm not gonna say anything else about what happened next after that, but the next morning, um, there were police officers, fire trucks, helicopters, caution tape, um, and phone calls, and and just a lot of sadness. Now, I'm not saying that his behavior was acceptable because it wasn't, and I mean, clearly never condone anything, right? But what I'm saying is like when we push them so far, so far, so far, like they respond to our energy. And he responded to her big energy in a big fucking way. And it ended up not being good for any of them. So, I'm not sharing this because I feel like we need to fear our men, because most men can control their rage. Sometimes they might hit a wall or they might throw something, but at least they're not hitting you, right? Most men can do that. So we don't need to fear our men. But what we need to do is understand that if we're hurting, they're hurting too. And we need to learn how we can show up better so we can inspire them to show up for us the way we truly want them to. Most relationships don't end in like everybody dying, but like they end in divorce because most people, the divorce hurts, but they move on, right? He couldn't move, he couldn't feel that pain. It was too much for him. And so, because he needed certainty, he took drastic measures to make sure that not only would he not feel that pain, but nobody was going to feel that pain, not even the kids, right? So we get to do our job though to say, this isn't what I want. Like, but how can I show up in a way that inspires my man to show up better for me, like in the way I truly want? Because had she let go of the criticizing, let go of the anger, let go of the judgments that he's not, let go of the judgments around him, and expressed how she felt from her heart and looked at him through a lens of love, which would change had changed the way that she showed up. Had she have done these things, had she have communicated with him differently and shown him a little bit more respect for what he actually was bringing to the table, it would have inspired him to give her more of that, more of what she wanted. But instead, a lot of us women, we choose to, we like inspire them through criticism and anger, which doesn't inspire them. It makes them angry and it makes them pull away from us because men move towards where they're winning. They want to feel like they're winning. And if your man doesn't feel like he's winning with you, he will put his attention to where he feels like he's winning. Maybe it's his work or with his buddies or, house chores, like wherever he feels like he's winning, he'll go there. But if he doesn't feel like he's winning with you, he is going to stay away from you. And what's that going to do to you? That's going to leave you feeling more alone and more angry. So we can keep the cycle going, or somebody can decide to start showing up different so we can actually get the results that we actually want. I love this work because once you start to understand it, it does make a lot of sense. Um, there really is nothing better than this feeling of like giving your man respect because they do turn around and give it right back to you in a way that feels amazing. And I know that we can we can slowly start shifting things in relationships. Us women have that power. Like when we get stuck in our stories and just say, well, no, he's an asshole and he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that and he doesn't do this. And right, when we get stuck in those stories, what we do is we're giving them all of our power, saying, I can't change unless he does. Or saying, this isn't going to change unless he does something. But when we start to see our role in this, we take back all of our power. And then we can, now that we have this awareness, we can show up different so we can get the results that we actually want. And life is so much more fun when you're doing it from a place of like creation rather than reacting. I love my cousin. I miss my cousin. I'm I am angry. I try to let out that anger. I'm really grateful that Mac and I we met in August 2022, and this event happened in November 2022. Him and I hadn't even kissed yet, and but we were dating, and um I so appreciate that, like, because I'm here in Colorado kind of alone. All my family's in Phoenix. I so appreciate that he was here for me. Like he came over and like I even told him like, "Oh no, you don't need to," but he was like, "No, I am." And I was like, "I'm actually really thankful that you did because like I need somebody here with me." And but the thing is it's like I wasn't just happy that he was here because it was him and he was here. Like I also know that like God gave me a gift putting Mac in my life because whether or not Mac and I got married or stayed together, at that point we weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend, but I was just like so fucking grateful that there was another human with a big heart who had the enough love to come sit with me in my pain. Like I needed that. Like and I was just so grateful to have him during this time. And I do think that him seeing my sadness in all of this actually brought us closer because like my heart opened up and I just allowed him to come right in and take care of me because I was just like I don't I could do this on my own, but I don't have to. Um and I'm so grateful that you're here and that God gave me this gift of somebody to, at least sit with me in this. And so I know it brought us closer. And so I, now that Mac and I are married, am going to do my very best to keep what we have going and keep this polarity that we have like in line. Because when you start to shift out of it, that's when roommates happen, that's when divorce happens, and that's when the fighting starts because um and so I also, I was stuck in my masculine energy for a long time. And when you make the shift out of it, it's not like I don't step into it. Like there's like we have to be in our masculine energy sometimes, ladies, to literally get anything done. Like my cousin at work as a lawyer, very masculine. She had to be, right? Get it done, get the outcome. Um, say the good words, right? All the things. But inside relationship, if you show up in that masculine energy, you will either slowly kill your masculine man or you will end up with a feminine man who you don't respect. That's just the way that it goes. Like there really is no, I want to say it's like it's the law. Like there is no other option. And so by me doing my own work to stay in this like feminine energy where I can keep my lens clear and look at my husband with love and not judge him because it's so easy to judge each other, right? Because he's not doing it the way I think he should. So I'm going to criticize and judge until he does things my way, right? No, no, no. That's not how we do things. Like somebody has to submit. And when they submit, see, my cousin's husband, he was submitting to her by doing what he thought she wanted was to just stay the fuck out of her way. That's what he thought she wanted, which left her feeling alone and uncherished and unloved, which is exactly what she wanted. He was submitting to her leadership, which caused a huge problems in the relationship. It Us women need to learn to submit to their leadership because that's in our nature. It's in our nature to do so. And it doesn't mean that they control us. It doesn't mean that we don't have a voice. It doesn't mean that we don't, you know, have any say in anything. Like I have a lot of say. Mac listens to everything I say. Does he always do what I say or, what I think? No, not always. But do you know what I do? I choose to trust that he has our best interest at heart, and I choose to trust that he's got us. And what's really great is that even if what he decides is wrong, or it doesn't work out the way that we think it's going to, I choose to trust that God has our back and everything's going to be okay. And that is the feeling of just letting go and trusting them to step up and be that man we so desperately want them to be for us. And when you can show a man that kind of respect, when you can speak to him through your heart and share your feelings rather than share your judgments, um, when you can see them through this lens, the way that they turn around and show up for you, the way that they cherish your heart. They don't want to hurt you because you are so open and vulnerable with them that their number one goal in life is to protect you emotionally, protect you physically, protect you financially, like and in this space, they are living their purpose. And in this space, us ladies get to live our purpose too, which is to just nurture and love and take care of our kids and have fun and be playful and joyous because we're not so angry and guarded and closed off, um, trying to control everything, which is not in our nature to do so. Um, Trying to control everything in the moment sometimes feels good because our little girl, our inner child wants to be in control, but in the long run, it is fucking exhausting. And you know it, I know it, I've been there. Um, my cousin, I know she was tired. She was like, I just want to be held. I know, I'm sure that's what she would pray for at night. I just want my husband to step up and be the fucking man. But, there are ways to inspire them to do so that don't push them to the point where they break and everyone's going to divorce court or whatever. And so I love this work. I love teaching women how to make these shifts, um, and all this stuff. So I am doing a master class on November 13th at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and where I'm gonna teach how to make these shifts and what this actually looks like and what this actually feels like to step into this new version of you who actually gets what she wants from a place that feels really good, as opposed to trying to force it, because forcing doesn't work. Forcing will never work. Forcing them is going to force them away, and it's just not pretty. So anyways, the master class is next week. I invite you to come. If you are in the Evolution membership, this class is included in your membership. And if you are not in the membership and you want to participate and just come see, you know, dip your toe into this work just a little bit more and see what goes on, send me a message and I will get you into the class as a guest, and it'll be really, really great. And so, that was a lot. I'm grateful that I got to get some of that off my chest because, like I said, November is a hard month for our family, and having the opportunity to even like speak about it openly on a podcast or wherever, even if this was therapy and there was a therapist sitting in front of me, like it feels really good to just get it off my chest. And so, and also take this opportunity as a learning experience, because I also know that, like, I feel like my cousin would want us to learn from this, so we can prevent this kind of stuff happening to other people. And I'm saying like this doesn't happen often. Like, there's no need to fear this, but it's like, but you know, we can you could be fearing divorce or facing divorce, facing losing your husband or losing your wife, and learning these skills can fix that. And it can change your whole life because all of a sudden now you are getting everything you want from a place that feels really good, rather than trying to get what you want from a place that doesn't. So I'm going to sign off here. Thank you so much, you guys, for listening. If you have any questions about anything, um, happy to speak to you. You know, you can find me on Facebook, Jenn Lockhart Grant. Jenn with two N's. If you want to be part of the master class, please reach out. And I would love to see you there and share more about this kind of work with you. So, anyways, have a great day. Goodbye.